Okay, I
You
guess we're
can
gonna
start.
start now.
Yeah, you can start the class.
Okay, so we're now going to go to the October 2022 SAT. This section is no calculator, so do not use a calculator on this. And I'll give you about a minute for each question, or actually, on the actual SAT, you'll have like a minute and 20 seconds. So I'll give you a minute and 20 seconds for each question, and then I'll solve it and show you how to do it. Okay, so for this one, we're given a graph and a line for the line of best fit, and it's asking based on the model, what is the predicted weight in kilograms of an infant with a foot length of 9 centimeters? And so foot length is the x-axis, and 9 would be between 8 and 10, and which would translate to between 8 and 6. And so what's between 8 and 6 in terms of body weight? Um, that would be 7, which would be answer choice B. So the answer to this would be answer choice B. Okay, question two. I'll give you a minute to answer this. Okay, so for this one, we're given that there's a line segment called AC. So this is point A, there's point C, and we're given that it's a length of 120. And it contains point B. So that means between A and C, there is point B somewhere. It could be like here, it could be here, but we just know that there is a point B somewhere. And we know that AB is 5x plus 20. So this is 5x plus 20. And we're given that BC is 6x minus 10. This is 6x minus 10. And it says which equation shows the relationships between the lengths of line segments. And so you have AB plus BC equals AC. So 5x plus 20 plus 6x minus 10 equals 120, which would be answer choice D. Question three, I'll give you a minute.
This is a SAT. It's not a PSAT. The link of the papers is also shared in the chat. If you click on it, you can open the question number 3.
Yeah, so this is actually the official SAT paper from October 2022, if you were wondering.
Those who have already registered, they got an email with the link as well.
Okay, so for this one, we're given that x is 4, and we're given that y equals x over 4 plus 2. Well, for this one, we just have to plug in x. So we get y equals 4 over 4 plus 2, which is just y equals 1 plus 2, which is just y equals 3. And so what is the solution? xy, 4, comma, 3 in parentheses, which would be answer choice B. All right, next question. I'll scroll down in a little bit. I'll give you a minute to read the question first. Okay, so for this one, we're given the function f is defined by 2x plus 6. So this is just normal slope form, which is just y equals mx plus b, with m being the slope and b being the y-intercept. And so here we're given 2x plus 6, so the slope is 2. And the y-intercept for this is 6. And so based on that information, we can see that for graph A, we have a slope of 2, and we have a y-intercept of 6. So the answer choice would be A. For answer choice B, we have a negative slope. For answer choice C, we have a negative slope. And for answer choice D, we have a negative slope. The slope here is positive, so you could have just ruled the rest out just based on the slope. So its answer is A. All right, I'll give you a minute for this question. All right, so for this one, it asks, it gives us a graph where we have y equals f of x, which is this. And it asks us which of the following could be the graph of f of x plus 2. Well, for this, say you have a vertex right here, which is like the bottom or if it was like this, it would be the top point. So that if you have f of x plus 2, that means that this vertex would be shifted up 2. So it would become like this. So that would be answer choice A, which is the correct answer. But if it was something like f of x minus 2, then it would be shifted down. If it was something like f of x plus 2, then it would be shifted left 2. And if it's f of x minus 2, or that's all in the parentheses, it would be shifted right 2. But for this one, the plus 2 was outside of the parentheses. So this one, we would just shift the graph up 2, which would just be answer choice A. All right, I'll give you a minute for this question. All right, so this one we're given a function q. So we have q, that's not q, q of x equals 5 times -1 to the x power. And it's asking x is an integer. What is the value of q of 6? So we would have to plug in x to 6. So if you don't know what -1 to the 6th power is, then here's a way to do it. So -1 to the first power is just -1. -1 to the second power is just 1. -1 to the third power is again -1. And it'll just keep going on. So if you're multiplying a negative number to a positive exponent, it'll just become positive. And if you're multiplying a negative number or a negative number to a odd exponent, it'll become negative. And so this one we have 6, which is an even number, so it would just become 1. And so you have 5 times 1, which is just 5, which would be answer choice C. All right, question 7. I'll give you a minute. Okay, so for this one, we're given the equation x minus 4 in parentheses times x plus 2 in parentheses over x minus 4 equals 0. And it's just asking what is the solution. So what does x equal? Well, if on the top you're multiplying two things and it can cancel out with the bottom, then you just do this. And you get x plus 2 equals 0. And you'd have x equals -2. And so to do this, or where you cross out what you're dividing by, the two factors at the top and the bottom have to be equal. So this is x minus 4 and this is x minus 4. So that's why you can cross these two out. And also you can only do this if you're multiplying the top two. So if you have like something like x minus 4 minus x plus 2 over x minus 4, you can't necessarily do this. You can't do that.
I have a
It-
question.
yeah.
Wouldn't 4 also like solve the equation because 4 minus 4 is 0 and then like
Um
0 to
so the problem with 4 is if you plug in 4 to the bottom, you'd get 4 minus 4, which gives 0. And when you're dividing by 0, you don't actually end up with an answer of 0, you end up with undefined.
Oh, okay.
So, because you'd end up dividing by 0, which would make the answer undefined, not actually 0.
Okay.
Okay, next question. Okay, so for this one, it's just the vertex form of a parabola, which so it has to have a negative in the beginning and it has to be x. And for this one, we can see that the parabola is right 6, so we would do -6 because you have that negative out front squared, and then plus, and then for plus you do up or down. So this is its vertex is at 4 or 6, 4, so it would be +4, and that's about it, which would just be answer choice C. All right, I'll give you a minute for this one. Okay, so for this one, we have two triangles. And we have A, D, E, and we have B here and C here. And we're given, this is 1, this is 3. Okay, and we're given that that they are similar triangles. That means that that they're both the same triangle, just with different side lengths. And we're given that B corresponds to D, so this and this match, and this match. And so the measure of angle ABC is 60, so ABC is 60. And so it's asking us what is the measure of angle ADE, which would be here, which would also be 60. That's about it. So the answer choice here would be D, or answer choice D, or 60 degrees. All right. Okay, so for this one, we have the graph, and we're given which equation represents that line. And so basically, let's just use, since it starts at 0, 0, let's just use 2 points. We would do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, but we don't have to do that because y1 and x1 are just 0. So this would just be, I don't know what point, 15,000 over 40, which would become 375. 15,000 over 40 is 375. A, which would be answer choice B. That would be answer choice B. All right, next question. All right, so for this one, we're given an equation, P equals 2 over n plus 3. And so we're given that n is not equal to 0 and p is greater than 3, which doesn't really matter. And it says, which equation currently expresses n in terms of p? And so for this one, we're just add 3 to both sides. So p plus 3 equals 2 over n. Multiply both sides by n. P plus 3 times n equals 2, which would just become, and then you divide both sides by p plus 3, which would just be n equals 2 over p plus 3, which becomes, oh wait, oopsies, this is not supposed to be a plus, this is supposed to be a minus, because you'd subtract 3 from both sides, not add 3 to both sides. So you do -3 and -3, yeah. So that would be answer choice C. Yeah, sorry, it's not add 3, it's subtract 3. I just messed it up, sorry. Because you'd subtract 3 from this side and subtract 3 from this side. So it'd be p minus 3 equals 2 over n, p minus 3 n equals 2, 2 over p minus 3, which is answer choice C. Okay. Next question. Okay, so for this one, we're given two equations, y equals 3x plus 5 and y equals px plus 8. And it's asking us p is a constant and the system has no solution. What is the value of p? Well, for a system of equations to have no solution, that means they have to have the same slope, but a different y-intercept. And so for them to have the same slope, p would have to be 3, which would be answer choice D. If this question asked for all real solutions, then they would have to have the same slope and the same y-intercept. And if it asked for one solution, then it would just be two different slopes and the y-intercepts doesn't really matter. But this one asked for no solution, so just they have to have the same slope but different y-intercepts. All right, question 13. All right, so for this one, we're given root x, start parentheses, root x plus y. And it's asking which of the following is equal. So for this one, we would just multiply out root x. So root x times root x is supposed to be root y, plus root x times root y, which just gives you root x times root x will just become x, plus, and then root x times root y would just become square root of xy, which would end up becoming answer choice A. Any questions? All right, question 14. All right, so for this one, we're given that on day one, he remembered 200 words. And then on each of the next 2 days, he remembered 10% fewer words than he did the preceding day. So basically, instead of 10% fewer words, he remembered 90% of the words, which is the same thing. Day two, he remembered 90% of 200, which is just 180. And then on day three, he remembered 90% of 180, which is just 162. Because 180 times 0.9 is 162. So it says how many words did he remember on day three? Well, it would be 162, or answer is B. Any questions? All right, next question. Question 15. Okay, so for this one, we have x squared plus y squared minus 16x minus 4y plus 32 equals 0. And we're asked to find the radius of the circle. And so for this one, we have to get it into an equivalent form, which we can work with. So for that, we'd have to translate this. So what I like to do is we have x squared minus 16x plus y squared minus 4y plus 32 equals 0. And then now we'd have to get rid of this or multiply it out into this form, x plus something and x plus something. So for that, we would have, for this, we'd just do x minus 4 times x minus 4, which gets us x squared, negative 4x, and we get 16. So we do x minus 4 squared, and we're left with 16 extra. So we need to keep that in mind. And then we do the same thing for the y, and we would end up getting y minus 2 squared. And for that one, we would have a remainder of 4. And so, oh wait, sorry. This is not x minus 4. It's x minus 8. Because we need to get 16, not 8. So that's negative 8x, and that gets us to 16x. This is actually 64. So x minus 8 squared. And you have both negative 8x, so that gets us 64. But you can't. And so you do 64 plus the 4, you add up both remainders, and that gets us 68, and then you do 68 minus the 32. So 68 minus 32, which gets us 36, and then you just take the square root of this, which would get us 6. So the interest would be 6, which would be interest B. Someone said they can't see anything. Let me just redo this problem a little bit bigger so you all can see it. So okay, so we have x squared plus y squared minus 16x minus 4y plus 32. And then you just factor this out, which would get us x plus 8 squared, because you do x plus 8 times x plus 8, which is just x squared, 8x, 64, and 8x plus 8x is 16x. This would be x minus 8. So x minus 8 squared, and we had a remainder of 64, and then we'd have plus y minus 2 squared. So y minus 2 times y minus 2 gets us y squared, negative 2y, and 4. And negative 2y minus 2y is just negative 4y, so that cancels this out. So you have y minus 2 squared, and you're left with a remainder of 4 here. And so you do 64 plus 4, which gets us 68. And then you take that from this 32 up here, because we didn't factor this in. So you do 68 minus 32, which gets us 36. And then it's just the square root of this number is your answer, which is just 6. So answer is B. And so when you're factoring out the remainders, you want to make sure you get this form where it's x minus a number squared. And the other one's y minus a number squared. Okay, next question. Number 16. I'll give you a minute. All right, so for this one, we're given 2x equals 64, an absolute value, and asks what positive value of x satisfies the given equation. And so since we're only looking for the positive value, we don't have to worry about if x is negative. So this absolute value doesn't really mean anything because this will always become positive if x is positive. And so we just have 64 equals 2x, and we just divide by 2, which would get us 32 as our answer. Next question, 17. I'll give a minute to help solve this. All right, so for this one, we don't really need a minute. It's just equation of line is 7x plus 2. What is the slope of a line that is parallel? Well, if it's parallel, it has the same slope. And if we use the formula y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept, we get the slope as 7. The answer would be 7. All right, question 18. I'll give you a minute. All right, so for this one, we're given 2 over 3p plus 4 equals 10. And what is the value of 3p? Well, just subtract 4 from both sides. We get 2/3 P equals 6. And 2/3 of P equals 6. That means that P equals 9. And then it's asking what is the value of 3P. So just 9 times 3, which is just 27. Any questions? No? Okay. Question 19. All right, so for this one, we're given the equation. We're basically just multiplying everything out. So we have x cubed minus 6x plus 5 in parentheses times, I'll just write it to the left, 3x squared plus x. Okay, so for this, we just multiply everything out. So I just like writing it like this, x cubed minus 6x plus 5, 3x squared plus x. Doing this, and then we just multiply everything out. So 3x to the 5th would get x to the 4th, negative 18x to the 3rd, negative 6x squared, 15x squared, and 5x, which would get us 3x to the 5th plus x to the 4th minus 18x to the 3rd plus 15x squared minus 6x squared plus 5x. And you can simplify these two, do 15 minus 6, which gets us 9x squared. And it's asking us for the value of d, which is the x squared term, so it would just be 9. So the answer is 9. Any questions? All right, question 20. I'll give you a minute. All right, so this one might be a little bit challenging, but don't worry, it's fine. So for this one, we're given basically a triangle. This is 17, this is 15, and this is x. And we're told the rope measures, basically they show us that in figure and ask us what is the value of tan x. And so use the term SOHCAHTOA, which gets you tan equals opposite over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent. And so we don't know what the opposite is, but the thing is that since this is a 90-degree angle, this is actually one of the common triplets. So as you can see, well, you probably can't see. So let me just write them down. But in right triangles, there's a lot of common triplets that happen, like a 3, 4, 5 triangle or a 6, 8, 10 triangle. And so this is actually a 8, 15, 17 triangle. Using the common triplets, we can actually figure out that this is an 8, 15, 17 triangle. As you can see here, 8, 15, 17 is the last common triplet on here. And so using that, we can easily figure out that the last angle here the last side length here has to be 8. And so we just do tan, which is just opposite over adjacent. And so the opposite would be 8 and adjacent would be 15. So the answer would just be 8 over 15. As for the common triplets, they're mostly just memorization.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the SAT on the Scantron, like will it give you the option to write it as a fraction or just a decimal?
Yes. So let me actually show you that. Find it. Minute.
I can't see it.
I'm trying to find it. Okay, so grid problems. So as you can see for grid problems, you can actually bubble it in like this. So they do give you the dash option.
Oh, okay.
So for this,
So
you
we
just
bubble
do-
it like close to the front because like on my Scantrons, I like start with the last square. So like 5, like the 2 should end on the last one.
You can do that too. It doesn't matter where you start. So as you can see here,
Oh, okay.
you can have it in the middle. You can have it on the left aligned. You can also have it on the right aligned. It doesn't really matter. It is better to have it left aligned because then if your answer is like really long, you can easily change it and do all that, but it doesn't really matter. So, yeah. All right. Now we're moving on to the calculator section. You generally won't need a calculator for most of these, but they give it to you anyway. So I'll give you a minute to solve the first question. All right, so for this one, we have f of x is 17x plus 13, and we're given what is f of 8. Well, we just, 8 is x, so we just plug in, so 17 times 8 plus 13. And so 17 times 8 you can put into your calculator, gives us 136 plus 13. And 136 plus 13 you can again put in your calculator, and that gets you an answer of 149, which is answer choice D. All right, question 2. All right, so for this one, we're just given the shaded region shows the solutions to the inequality. Which ordered pair is a solution? Basically, it's asking which ordered pair is within the shaded area. So A, we have 5, 0, which is. B, we have 0, 5, which is not. C, we have -5, 0, which is not. And D, we have 0, -5, which is not. So the answer choice here would be A. That's about it. There's no real work that you have to do for this one. Question 3. All right, so for this one, we're given 2 dimensions. We're given the painting is 21 inches wide and 30 inches long. So let's say there's 21 and this is 30. And it says an artist is creating a larger scale replica where A is 21x and B is 30x. And it's asking what is x? Well, x is just what you're scaling it by. So we have 21x and 30x. If x is 1, you just get the same size. If x is 2, you're basically doubling the lengths of both the sides. And so basically, it's just the measure of each side is x times as great as the measure of the corresponding side, which should just be answer choice C. All right, question 4. All right, so for this one, it's also pretty easy. we're given this triangle like this. We're given this 40 degrees. And this is a right angle based on that square thing. So because there's a right angle, we know that there's 90 degrees. And so it's asking for y here. And so basically all the sides inside of a triangle have to add up to 180. So 90 plus 40 plus x has to add up to 180, which would just do 180 minus 90 plus 40, which would just be 180 minus 130, which 180 minus 130 is just 50. So we know that x has to be 50 degrees. And so it's asking what is the value of y? Well, since it's a line and whatever like this, the two sides have to add up to 180. And so you'd have 180 minus 50, which would get you 130 again. So the answer choice would be 130. All right. Question 5. All right, so for this one, we're given 2 people and we're told that person 1 charges 10 per hour. So I'm going to make hour X plus a flat fee of $5. So 10x plus 5. And then person 2 charges $8 an hour. So 8x plus an additional fee of $4 per child. So 4 times y, and y is the number of children. And so it says they have 2 different jobs and they will be babysitting 4 children for the same amount of time. If they change the same total amount, how many hours will they spend babysitting? So we're told that these two have to be equal, and we're told that they're babysitting 4 children. So y would be 4 here. So we would have 10x plus, make this bigger, 10x plus 5 equals 8x plus 4 times, and we're told it's 4 children, so 4. And so that would just be 16. And then we just subtract 8x from both sides, so you get 2x plus 5 equals 16. Subtract 5 from both sides, that gets us 11 equals 2x, divide both sides by 2, and we get x as the number of hours equals 5.5, which would just be answer choice C. All right, question 6. So for question 6, since it asks about the same scenario, I'll just keep this top part up here. All right, so for this one, we're given that it's asking about to graph Dakota's thing. So this one, so that'll just be 10x plus 5. So we have a y-intercept of 5 and a slope of 10. So which one of these has a y-intercept of 5? Well, that would either be B or C. And which one of these has a slope of 10? That would be answer choice B. That's about it. Because B has a slope of 10 and it has a y-intercept of 5. All right, question 7. All right, so for this one, we're given that a line has a slope of -3 and an x-intercept of 9/2, 0. So let's just graph this. So this is 0, this is 0. So 9/2 is between 4 and 5. It would be about right here. And then it says the slope is -3. So every time you go left 1 unit, you have to go up 3. So this would become 3, 3, 3.5. If you go left 1 more, you'd get 6. Or sorry, not 3, 3.5. You get 3.53. And then if you go left 1 more, you'd get 2.56. And if you go left 1 more, you'd get 1.59. And when you get to the y-intercept, it would be, or you're not there yet, but it'd be like 0.512. And so, well, we can already rule out answer choice A and C because that's not a y-intercept. Those are x-intercepts. And we can tell just based on this that it's definitely going to be higher than 9/2. So the answer choice has to be D. Because A and C, those aren't y-intercepts, and it's has to be higher than 9/2. All right, so for this one, it says questions 8 and 9 refer to the following information, and it gives you a table, and then question 9 is on the top. All right, so for question 8, we're given the table, and we're asked, what is the range of the land area in thousands of acres of the 4 parks? And so range is just the largest number, so that'd be 72.2, minus the smallest number, which is just 3.7, which would just become 68.5. And you can obviously use your calculator to figure that out, which would just get you an answer choice of C. All right, question 9. All right, so for this one, it says a new data set is formed and it's asking about us the mean area of the new data set compared to the old one. And so mean is the average. And so the one which we're removing is New River Gorge National River, which is the largest one. It's the 72.2 one. And so if you remove the largest unit in your data set, the mean is going to decrease. And so 9 would just become B. The new mean is going to be smaller because you're removing the largest number, or 72.2, and you can also calculate it. You just do 72.2 plus 4.3 plus 11.6 plus 3.7, and that would be, and then divided by 4, and that would be your original mean. And for the new mean, you do 11.6 plus 3.7 plus 4.3 divided by 3, and that would be your new mean. But we don't need to do all that because it doesn't ask us for the various numbers.
The answer is C and B.
Yeah, the answer choice is B.
Okay.
Question 10. All right, so for this one, we're given y equals negative 324 plus 5.6x. And we're given 60. The range is from 60 to 100. So if it says 60 is less than or equals to x, which is less than or equals to 100, that means the line has to start at 60 and it has to end at 100. It can't go to the left of 60 and it can't go to the right of 100. So that means we can automatically rule out answer choice C because it goes to the left of 60. And then as for the rest, we can see that the slope of this should be 5.6. And so we can actually just use our calculator to see what the starting value would be. So we do 5.6, and then x would be 60 times 60 minus 324. So it's just, because x starts at 60, so it would just be 5.6 times 60 minus 324, which gets us 12. And so the point should be 60, comma 12. And so as you can see, answer choice B does not start at 6012. Answer choice A does start at 6012. So the answer choice here would be A.
Sure. I think we can end this session at this one. And we'll continue with the next questions next week. It's almost time now.
Okay.
We'll continue with the 11th question next time. Thank you, everybody. If you have any other questions, you can let him know, and we'll see you again next week on Sunday. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.